Hello everyone and welcome back to Speaking Spurs and me, Kieran, talking all things Tottenham. And today we're talking about that 3-2 loss against West Ham in our first match on our Asia Pacific tour, which was in Perth this morning. So I had the luxury of being able to watch the game and cheekily, whilst I was at work, had my phone on watching the game. Had to have the volume low because, other people around, but still got to see it. And do you know what? Ignore the scoreline. It doesn't really reflect the performance whatsoever. So for those of you that didn't get to see the game, we had 30 efforts at goal to West Ham's 4. Which means they did score 3 of 4. We enjoyed 71% of possession throughout of the game, and that was in front of 46,266 fans at the Optus Stadium. The fans were given a good show. But look, for us, the thing you've got to remember in this, there were some Spurs fans having a little moan, going, "Oh, same old Spurs," and blah blah blah. Look, we got new manager, new system. This was our first game. This was West Ham's third game of pre-season. So they've had a pretty good season so far. They've racked up 10 goals in their first 2 games. You include this one, they've hit 13 goals in 3 games. Look, they've done very well, but you could tell that they're further ahead in their pre-season stage. So they've had the 2 games. You could tell with the substitutions. So we put out a starting 11. And then at half-time, we put a brand new 11 out onto that pitch, whereas West Ham throughout the game were making substitutions gradually, to aid with some players were given more minutes to get closer to fitness. And I think their bigger games are kind of coming to an end now. Their tour's done. They're coming back home. I think they've got like Dagenham and Redbridge and teams like that coming up. Whereas ours, we've got Leicester next and a few other big teams in there. Obviously, we've got Barcelona on this pre-season. So, yeah, we're at very different stages. So the scoreline, I can't take into too much context. The other thing that you have to remember is, we've spent the last couple of seasons playing with essentially a fluid back 5. Now we're being made to go to a back 4. And I know that suits some of our players better. But actually, the starting lineup players, the back line didn't suit as much. Obviously, Eric Dyer as well, not fit enough to partake in a game as of yet. So that made an influence on the starting lineup. I think had he been fit, we would have seen him next to Romero. We'll talk a little bit about what I saw throughout the game. Just giving you sort of like the running talking points of the game. But look, the starting 11 was Vicario in goal, back 4 of Porro on the right, Romero, Tanganga as centre backs, and Reguilon on the left. Then you had Skippy, Bazuma and Madders lining up in the midfield. And then you had Solomon, Kulu and Kane. So that's your 4-3-3. Probably the biggest surprise was that Reguilon actually made a start on his return to Spurs, but he is more defensive minded than Udogie, so I guess that kind of makes sense. But if we just jump into it straight from the beginning, there was some lovely football played in the first half, actually. Kulusevski, Maddison and Solomon, they all looked fairly bright. Maddison took a bit longer to get into the game than Solomon, who I thought was involved in quite a bit. But if we just go through the stage of the game, so Skip, he took an early chance quite well, actually. He took it very quickly. That was saved by Fabianski, and that was from a Solomon pullback. Solomon was then involved again with a nice pullback for Kulusevski, who was denied again. Ings then scored his headed goal. So there was a corner, a bit of a clearance from us, but we didn't get the second ball. It was then put back out wide to Bowen, who cut back, curled the ball in, and Ings headed the goal in. A little bit of poor marking at the back post by Reguilon, but Reguilon shouldn't really be marking Ings anyway. Then we go 2-0 down. Mubama scored a header. That was from another set piece, something that we've been particularly weak at over the years. So actually the goals didn't come from open play in that instance. So, not too bad, but set plays definitely need to work better on the people that we're picking up. Solomon then whipped in a curler from outside of the box, hit it really well, again saved by Fabianski, and I think he was a bit blinded for part of it. Then Maddison had his shot at Fabianski. Basuma was denied after a good combo with himself and Skippy into the box. Kane then fired the ball across the box for Romero's completely mishit, and he should have scored. Solomon was wiped out in the box after a low shot, was caught by Bowen. They were saying it should have been a penalty, and I think the referee didn't give it because he got the shot away and then was clattered. But still, it's not a good play. And then Vicario made a save from Bowen. A low shot effort from the edge of the box. Was quite good at being aware for that one. Then half-time completely changed the team. So out in the second half, Brandon Austin in goal. And then your back four was Emerson Royale, Davinson Sanchez, Ben Davies and Udogie. Your midfield three was Sarr, Højbjerg and Devine. And then the... who else did we have? No, sorry. Sarr, Højbjerg and Lo Celso, I think. And then further forward it was Devine, Perisic and Richarlison through the middle. So the captain for the first half was Kane. Captain for the second half, Ben Davies, which I think makes sense. He's the longest serving player out there. So I wouldn't read too much into that at the moment. So second half was very much Richarlison's half of missed chances. So starting from the off, he fired a cross in for Perisic, but it didn't quite make it. Then we had a corner. Royale had a good effort. He fired over from Sarr tee up. Nice bit of play that was. And actually, we started the second half. Oh, hello, light's gone. Started the second half really, really lively. The second string team, as you'll have it, came out the traps flying. There was just constant movement, balls going out wide and coming in from all sorts of angles. Richarlison then had another chance. He did well to work. He does well to work the space. And he actually did well to get the shot away and hit the post because he was kind of off balance at the time. He was in a bit of an argy-bargy with the defender and, just curled it, not quite in. Then he had another half chance. That was a headed effort over with his back to goal. Richarlison again. Ball came through. He then played a stabbed ball to Lo Celso. Lo Celso then played it back to him. He took a shot which was deflected wide. Lo Celso then scored his goal. It was a cross from Perisic. Sanchez then headed it down. Lo Celso fired hard and low from close range, and it had been coming because we were just mounting the pressure. Well-deserved goal. Udogie then got himself off the mark. 2 goals in 3 minutes here. The comeback's on. Udogie scored a lovely flicked header. That was from a Perisic corner. So front post flick into the opposite corner. Then it became 3-2. Skamaka with a cool finish past Brandon Austin. He was released by Fornells into a one-on-one situation. Davinson Sanchez defended quite poorly at the time to allow him through. There was just a bit of lapse of concentration from us. Then Richarlison had another effort, like an overhead kick from a Perisic cross that went over the bar. Then Sanchez chance. So there was an overlap and the ball was cut back to him. Sanchez poorly guided it straight at the goalkeeper, but he's not a striker, so I mean that was pretty much it. They were the sort of like the main highlights that stick out. But look, from the first half, you could tell that we were getting used to a back four. We were very slow to start the game. There was a lot of passing around the back, patiently waiting for a gap to penetrate through. But West Ham, I felt from the beginning, West Ham defended quite well. They pushed us further back than we would have wanted to be. But once we got going, we kind of got in the swing of things. Like some of the players kind of, came forward into life. I thought Skippy particularly did quite well. Pleased with that, if I'm honest. So let's have a look at what Ange Postecoglou had to say. So afterwards, when he was speaking to Spurs play, he said, yes, there were lots of positives. The first thing for me was to see the players' willingness to try and implement some of the things we've been working on. We've been working hard in training, so they're not going to feel 100%, but their endeavour to try and play the football we want to play, particularly our pressing, these kind of things. We've only given them limited information, but it was good to see some of those things in practice. Areas we're still working on, some quality footballers, and if you set up the structure, that's what it allows them to do. At the same time, We've got to work hard defensively to make sure we get into those areas more often. I thought in both halves we did that pretty well. We dominated the game, but obviously there are still areas we're still working on, and fairly glaring in terms of the goals we conceded. But that's on me. We haven't really organised ourselves and structured ourselves in that sense, so that's something for us to work on. So it's actually quite interesting that Postecoglou has come out and basically said defensively we haven't really worked on much yet, and I suppose that comes down to the injuries that have played in hand. Obviously Sanchez is somebody that we're probably looking to move on. We don't know what's going to happen with Tanganga at the moment. Will he go on loan? Will he be sold? Eric Dyer is obviously coming back from injury, which really only leaves Romero and then Ben Davies, who we know is great in a back three as a centre back, but in a back two, it's not really his position. When he came to us, he was a left back. So yeah, so he said the rewards will come. The main thing for me is that every player out there was trying to do what I've been working on. That's the key for me. That gives me the encouragement to keep going and feeding more into them, and hopefully they take that on board. Obviously, they're disappointed with the outcome, but in terms of the football, they'll be at least getting encouragement that if they continue to play the way we do, the rewards will come. Results always matter. So from our perspective, we want to be a team that plays good football and dominates games. We obviously want to win, but that's not the most important thing for me right now. Winning tonight and not playing the kind of football we want, I'd be disappointed with that. We've work to do. We know that, no surprises there, but really encouraged with the way the boys have been working hard in training, and secondly, their endeavours to try and win the game. So look, the thing that impresses me about Postecoglou, he's come out and he said, look, if we win but don't play the right way, doesn't mean anything. And I guess he's right in that sense, because he's still going to try and implement these ideas. So winning now but winning the wrong way will have the mindset of the players to keep playing a different way to what he wants, because they'll be like, oh, well, we're getting results. But then we go into the season with kind of like this mixed feeling. And actually, from what we've seen from Postecoglou in his previous teams, if you trust the process, it comes good. So we'll talk about the players individually now. Bear with me on this one because there are 22 to talk about. So Vicario, look, for him, he came out, he made a big punch in the air, and Polak's Tanganga and Ogbonna sent a loose kick out of play from a corner, but couldn't do much about either of Ings or Mubama's close range headers, then saved well from Bowen late in the half. So there were a lot of people in the comments of some of the YouTube videos I've seen today moaning about Vicario, saying, oh, we shouldn't have signed him, blah, blah, blah. But actually, for those of us that watched the game, he wasn't really at fault for either of the first two goals. I feel like maybe he could have done a little bit better with Skamaka's goal. Could have made himself a little bit bigger, more of a presence, come out a little bit earlier. I don't know, put more pressure on. Porro, first pass was a loose one, and Mbama got in behind him to score West Ham's second goal. Putting across from Maddison later in the half, but didn't offer much going forward at all. I was a little bit disappointed in him actually, because I felt that going forward at least he was going to offer something. So yeah, not great from him. Romero wasn't really the commanding presence at times that was needed as the experienced central defender of the two, which didn't help considering Tanganga's had a pretty poor season previously, riddled with injuries, and when he had played he made lots of mistakes. So on him now. He took a big whack from Vicario earlier in the game. He made a couple of good blocks in his own box, but Mubama drifted in between him and Porro to score the Hammers' second goal. So not an amazing showing from him, but pretty much what we expected. There was a moment, I'm pretty sure it was him, he tried to nutmeg Mubama, and he made the nutmeg, and it was deep in the middle of our half, and then lost the ball from it. Stupid decision. If you do that against a more experienced player, you're going to get punished. Reguilon out on the left. Busy, very busy down the left. He came inside into the centre when Basuma would collect the ball between the centre-backs. Linked up well with Solomon going forward, but he was at fault when Ings scored as he led with his foot rather than challenging for the header at the back post. He did set up Solomon for a late chance in the half, similar to how he was before at Spurs. Bright going forward, but defensively a bit suspect. And the other thing I felt with his final delivery, like when he first came to us, good delivery. This time round, not so much. The same as we'd seen, it kind of dwindled his ability to play the ball. Moving into midfield, Oliver Skip had the first chance of the game with a great run and touch, but was denied by Fabianski. Put in an energetic performance in the middle, and I have to say, considering he's not had as much time off as many of the others because of his involvement in our England under-21s victory, I felt that he played very well. Bissouma played the number 6 role, mostly behind the on-Russian skipper Madison. Had a chance to score a lovely goal after a 1-2 skip, but the keeper saved, and he looked very confident. And if you've seen a lot of the video footage that's been going on recently, like Spurs players being interviewed and things going on in the training ground, they're very much focused in on Bazuma. He seems to be a very popular member of the group right now, and he seemed to enjoy playing in this game at least. And it was nice to watch him, having a bit more freedom. Tactically, obviously, he struggled under Conte, and with a bit more freedom, you can see what he can do. James Maddison, a couple of nice touches and passes, sent one free kick into the wall. Had that player not have been hitting the wall, it was going to be on target, and I think the keeper would have struggled. Set up Solomon for an effort later in the half before a weak-headed effort at the keeper himself. Kulusevski came across to the left for one move and sent a shot at goal that the keeper saved. He looked bright, sent a couple of chances with crosses into the box, but very much more of the same from Kulusevski, kind of an okay performance but didn't set the world alight. Manuel Solomon on the other side making his competitive debut for us. Bright start. Linking up well with Reguilon, as I said earlier, very confident and direct with the ball, had a couple of efforts on goal and a claim for a penalty. I was very impressed for his first outing in a Spurs shirt. Then Harry Kane, the man of the moment, links to all the clubs that we don't want him to be linked with. Looked off the pace, if I'm honest, for much of the half. He began to warm up as it wore on with some nice touches and passes, but actually not one of the better performers on the day. So moving on to the second half team. So Brandon Austin, beaten by Schumacher's clinical finish, but otherwise had nothing to do. And I just realised I made a mistake when I was talking about Schumacher's goal earlier. I said that Vicario could have done better. It wasn't Vicario, it was Brandon Austin. Yes, Brandon Austin could have done a bit better, but otherwise had nothing to do. Emerson Royale, defensively, did pretty well. Going forward, as we expect, didn't offer too much, apart from when he sent a volley over. And he was actually caught up pitch for West Ham's only goal in the second half. Otherwise, worked hard down the right, much of what we expect. Moving into the middle, Davinson Sanchez made a couple of good interceptions and a few drives up the pitch. He was involved in Lo Celso's goal as the header forced the ball to the Argentine. However, found himself caught out by Fornal's ball in behind Schumacher, who raced on to score. Ben Davies next to him, captain for the second half, defended well on the whole while making a couple of runs forward. Very much a typical Ben Davies performance, always going to give you at least a 7 out of 10. What can I say? Destiny Udogie, raided up and down the left flanks, as well as taking his turns in the centre as an inverted fullback at times. He got his reward with a lovely flicked header from Perisic's corner to level the scores. A bright first display in a Spurs shirt, and I was really impressed watching him. He's a good signing. Bright future for him. Moving into the midfield for the second half, Pap Matassar, tidy display in the middle. From the Senegalese international. He used the ball well, broke forward whenever he could, so yep, happy with that. Højbjerg, he was the anchor man in the midfield, used the ball well most of the time, but was involved as West Ham won the ball for their third goal. And very much as he does, his passing is very hit and miss. He used the ball well most of the time, but there were a few times where he had those loose passes. But the one thing I will say, at least he tries to do stuff with it. Then the next one of the midfield, Giovanni Lo Celso, the man that has been plagued with injuries, sent out on loan, plays amazingly well for Argentina, but it's never quite worked for Spurs, and I think we're seeing the reason why. He's been playing out of position. You put him in a position he's comfortable with, and this is what can happen. He scored the first goal of the Postecoglou era with a well-taken volley from Sanchez's header, looked to link up play on the left of the middle of the midfield three. He showed he could have value if Spurs decide to keep him. Now, it's an interesting one because of his contract, and he's very much now in talks with Napoli His agent has come out and essentially said that there are talks going on. However, I'm expecting that after today's performance, Postecoglou will be sitting there going, hang on a minute, what's the point in selling him? Because then we've got to sign somebody else who's going to be more expensive than what we'll get for Lo Celso because of the lack of playing time that he's had for us and the teams that he's been playing for and his recent injury that kept him out of the World Cup. Had he gone to the World Cup, I think we probably would have been asking a lot more for him because for Argentina he plays so well. So I think Napoli want to pay 15 million for him and we want nearer 25. I don't see the point in taking 25 million because you can't improve on Lo Celso for 25 million. I can't think of a player you could get for 25 million that is better than him in his position, especially the way he played in this game. So yeah, moving on to Alfie Devine. Not normally a winger, but looked very bright down the right actually, setting up a number of chances and having a shot himself pushed behind, which led to Spurs' first goal. And I think he will have impressed Postecoglou. Certainly impressed me. I was happy with his performance and I'm glad that he was actually included. Then Perisic on the other side showed his ability to swing a ball in with the cross that led to Lo Celso's volley and then the direct assist from the corner from Udogie. I thought Perisic was a constant threat, playing right up there. Like we've seen him do it for Croatia many time. And I think as like a wing back in the in the Conte system, I think a younger Perisic, fine, the age that he's at now. I think he wasn't used in the right way by Conte. And with Sonny struggling with what turns out to have been an injury for most of the season, Perisic would have been a good replacement for that. There was lots of moments where I know his pace isn't quite there, but he's got a very good step over and knocks the ball well to gain himself that extra yard of space, and his crossing ability is exceptional. So there are rumours that Postecoglou is trying to block a move and will make Perisic play his last season for Spurs and then let him go for a free at the end of the season, which I haven't got a problem with because we got him in on a free. So you don't have to make money on him. And even if you're going to, it's going to be a very low amount of money because of his age and the contract situation. And then we'll talk about the man in the middle, Richarlison, the chance king. So many chances, gets himself in great positions a lot of the time, makes some really good runs, but struggles with his offsides. He goes a little bit too early. Did manage to get a couple of deflected shots though, and had one close range header that he knocked weakly into the keeper's arms. Tried to knock it into the ground first, but actually, despite the fact that he didn't manage to score, I'm happy with his movement and the effort that he puts in. I think sometimes because he's a bit of an emotional player and he struggled to score for Spurs, I think he puts a bit too much into it when he's trying to take a shot. Tries to go for too much power a lot of the time, and that's causing him problems. Whereas if you actually watch training footage of Richarlison, he's much more relaxed, which means he's more composed, scores more goals in good positions. So I think from Richarlison there'll be a lot more to come. But look, all in all from that game, I'm impressed. Look, it's never good to lose, especially to a rival. But as I said, West Ham are in a very different stage right now. Their players are fitter. We've had more players come back to us late from international duty. We've got players that are still coming back from injury. We've completely changed our system. And as Postecoglou has said, we haven't really worked on the defensive side of things yet. So that gives you a little insight to, things to come. There's a lot more still to be worked on. But the fact that the players are starting to buy into this already, and we created as many chances as we did. If, for example, say Harry Kane was on the pitch in the second half instead of the first half, and it was the other way around with him and Richarlison, we wouldn't have lost that game. I am telling you, we would not have lost that game. Harry Kane would have taken so many of them chances, or just taken up better positions in the box. So yeah, very, very much impressed. It's a good thing. And I can only see it getting better. If that's what we can produce in the first game under Postecoglou, imagine what we can do going forward. But yeah, so that's it. That's me talking about the game. They're my views. If any of you managed to watch the game and notice some other things, players you were impressed with, people that you weren't so impressed with, people that we need to sell, please leave your comments below. I'm really interested to see people's and hear people's views on Postecoglou. and some of our new signings and who you were impressed with. So yeah, thanks for sticking around. Don't forget to like the video. It takes 2 seconds just to go. Less than that, actually. Look how quick that was. That's a like. Subscribe, and that will let you know when all future content is coming out. You'll be notified if you put the bell notifications on. And comment. Just comment. And if you really want, share it to other people. But look, thanks for sticking around. I have been Kieran from Speaking Spurs, and until next time, come on you Spurs.